Hi, welcome to the Pole Shift News and the maverickstar Observatory. Guys, I thought I'd just in this video clear up a few things so you can get a better understanding as to where the magnetic North Pole is. As you can see, we've included June 2019's pin, the green one here. You can see where that is in relationship to the 40 degrees mark, which is where we anticipate perhaps in another 5 years or less actually the magnetic North Pole will be in that vicinity, and it will have covered a total distance since its migration started around the 1900s, a total of 40 degrees. What happens at that point is when it gets to 40 degrees, according to some of the experimentation that we've carried out, and I've showed you guys in earlier videos, we should be entering the weak field lines, and therefore the magnetic reversal should start to take place more rapidly than what it is right now. And the reason for that is because you get strong field lines and you get weak field lines, and it is on the cusp of 40 degrees that you start to get these weak field lines occurring. And we anticipate that once it gets to that region here, where the volcanoes marked the 40 degrees, it should be entering those weak field lines. As you can see, we are around 225 miles from that location, and we have already in the last few months, if you've been following us regularly, you'll note that we have been seeing some rather unusual and elaborate movement with the magnetic North Pole. And just to give you a bit of clarification on that, it's been migrating to and from over the last 2 months, 200-mile drifts. So it's been moving a distance of 200 miles, but it's been going back easterly as well as going westerly in the direction of Siberia. So it gives you an idea of what's taking place right now and where the magnetic North Pole is at current date, and that is 84 degrees 0.24 north by 131 degrees 0.37 east. So if you want to have a look on your Google Maps for those longitude and latitude coordinates, you'll be able to put a pin in your own map and just watch it from this space. On average, the magnetic North Pole migrates around 47 miles every year. It's done a little bit. It's done a little bit more than that over the last 12 months. So I think we are getting ready to perhaps go up another gear. So it's going to start covering more distance as it gets closer and closer to that 40 degree mark. I believe when it does get to the 40 degree, it's going to really accelerate. But more importantly, I feel that when it does get to the 40 degrees mark, not only is the pole going to start to migrate a lot quicker, it's going to affect the jet streams on our planet and the weather as it does so. So we take the last 30 years for instance, we've seen a progression in the extreme weather increasing over the last 30 years as the pole's been getting closer and closer to the weaker field lines. Then when it does enter the weaker field lines, we can expect an acceleration not only of the pole but of the climate on a whole around the world. So it's important, guys. So there's a couple of things that we could expect to see. We could see, a diminishing of the magnetosphere. That's going to allow more cosmic radiation in. Couldn't come at a worse time really when we factor in the grand solar minimum, because that in turn allows more solar radiation into our solar system. So if we've got a weakened magnetosphere, our secondary shield that protects us from cosmic radiation is going to be a lot weakened than what it is now. Mainstream organisations reckon it's around about 20% loss at the current moment. So we can expect when the poles do go for a reversal for that to increase a lot more. Probably we could be looking at probably 90-95% total weakening of the magnetosphere. So we're going to have a hell of a lot more cosmic radiation in that at that point. Cosmic radiation not only sets up cloud seeding, where we end up with more rainfall as a result of that. I've discussed in earlier videos that the ozone hole, which is pretty much a gathering of aerosols are attracted by these cosmic radiation particles. They in turn build bigger particles when they attach to these aerosols, and as a result, they get taken via the jet stream into the subtropical and polar jet streams. As we've seen already, we've got merging subtropical and polar jet streams right now. So it can be a conveyor from the Antarctic region of this planet right up to the northern hemisphere with these seeded particles, which will deliver a lot more rain. I was looking at NASA's space station live footage of the Earth, and I was quite startled really, because the amount of cloud coverage we got over the planet right now is I think extreme. If obviously there is cloud coverage, there is no solar radiation coming in, and that will set up in itself by its own rights cooling. And as we already know, we are getting more cooler temperatures, if we go back over the last 5 years at least. And this is one of the problems that's baffling scientists right now over the Antarctic region with regards to the ozone hole, because during colder times the ozone hole actually increases in size, and it hasn't done. So they're just bewildered why that hasn't been the case this last 5 years. Why I think it's actually not getting bigger when it should be because of the temperature is because we've got more inbound cosmic radiation, and as a result of that, we're losing the aerosols in that region because they're being transported via the jet streams from the polar to the tropical, even crossing over the equatorial region of the Earth into the northern hemispheres as well. So that's what I reckon we're going to see a lot more of over the coming years. So we're not too far away, guys. We're less than 5 years away before we hit that 40-degree mark. Now guys, you might think 5 years is a long time, but in them 5 years we're going to see a lot of changes take place, not just with the jet streams and the delivery of rain and flash floods and more miserable weather on the whole across the planet. We're also going to see food production decrease, arable land go offline, and that in its own right is enough, but there's more. Something we've not really talked about either too much yet on this channel, but I think it's time we did, is that if we are going to be going through a magnetic reversal within the next 5 years or so, then our magnetosphere is going to be weak, and if we should be unlucky to catch an already overdue coronal mass ejection off the sun, it will be game over pretty much. I'm not saying it's going to wipe us all out, but I'm just going to say the grid is going to fail without a doubt. And if we go back to the Carrington event, when the height of technology was just telegraph poles, you compare that to what we've got today and how much we rely heavily upon, you can get an idea as to what will happen. Problem is, none of the world governments have set aside backup generators. They've talked about these, believe it or not. Liam Fox in the UK, a member of Parliament, was talking about this, saying that it's a very real possible scenario that we face in the not too distant future, and we're very much unprepared for it. The problem is that you cannot replace every transformer in a period of 2 weeks, and by then pretty much everything in a normal society has collapsed, because most people haven't even got food storage. They haven't prepared for nothing, and that's going to cause problems for all of us that have prepared, because we're going to be the ones that have, and they're going to be the ones that have not, and they are going to turn ugly. I've described them as zombies, and I'm not just talking about the zombies that you see in the films. I'm talking about people that are going to loot, steal, rob, anything they can get their hands on, and they will be desperate enough to do it. If we only go back less than 100 years to Leningrad during the blockade, where no food was getting through, and people were turning to even cannibalism. That's the sort of thing I'm talking about. And there was like 100,000 people dying every month, mainly because there was fighting over food stamps. So it gives you an idea, guys, of how human beings can really turn in events. And we face these events, it's a real problem that we face. And we have discussed quite a few scenarios on this channel. There's nothing to say that this is going to be just a magnetic excursion event, which lasts for about 12,000 to 14,000 years, and then it is almost like a failed reversal. The pole does seem to leave its location, but does return after that short period of time. It could be a complete magnetic reversal, and if that's the case, then the last time this happened, as you know, was 780,000 years ago. And we could end up with magnetic poles in new locations on this planet. We could also have a complete failure of the pole reversal. We could lose the magnetic poles, and we could also lose the magnetosphere permanently. And that's not off the cards, guys. It's already happened to a neighbouring planet of ours, Mars. Mars did have magnetic poles at one point in time. We know that because spacecraft have, or satellites for at least, have flown over and detected in impact craters, magnetic anomalies, and it's an indication that at some point in Mars's history had a magnetosphere as well as poles, and that was probably what was protecting its water at that period of time. And I believe that that's why NASA have been encouraged to investigate both Mars and Venus, and look at how and why these planets have lost their magnetic poles, and what was the result of that. We do know that from studying the terraform on Mars that it had water and very likely an atmosphere, and it may even have supported some life there. We haven't found it, not even in its simplest forms of bacterial. We've not even found that yet on Mars. It's not been confirmed, and it certainly hasn't been made public if it has. And we don't know at one point in time, maybe millions of years ago, or thousands, hundreds of thousands of years ago, whether it even had intelligent life. We just don't know. But what we do know is that it had water like Earth, and that the fact that it had water could be that it did support life at some point. Because without water on a planet, you simply do not get life evolve or form. But our problems don't just stop there with an unfortunate coronal mass ejection from the sun, or a disappearing magnetosphere permanently, or a pole reversal affecting the jet streams on our planet, and therefore making the weather unsuitable for crop growing, and therefore more land going offline. It's even worse than that, guys. If our planet, and it is gearing up to do that, should cool by about 5 to 10 degrees, we will be back in a glacial period. And guess what? We're overdue a glacial period. The last one was 12,000 years ago. The grand solar minimum, people are talking about a mini ice age lasting the next 50 years. But I tell you now, if we go into a glacial period, it won't last for 50 years. It will be in the thousands again. So we are gearing up for a lot of obstacles, and I don't think we're going to miss them all, guys. Is the truth of the matter. That is really why I've dedicated around 8 years or more to this topic, and that is why pretty much I've been driven to go to the extremes of building the trimag, building a magnetosphere sensor, more recently putting these magnetometers all around the world. Just this week we sent the last one of the 6 out to Punjab, India, and that should be there in about a week and a half's time, and we should get some test data from that. But meanwhile, we'll be getting data come from all these magnetometers that we've put in these hotspots. So, you know, I know I've explained where they are and why they are, guys. You know, it's for a good purpose that they're in them locations. We're right on the fringe of the high intensity regions, and we're expecting the Canadian pole to reduce more over the next 5 years. The Siberian pole will be increasing in the next 5 years and moving further down towards the equatorial region. And those two magnetometers, M5 and M6, that we've got in Australia, will be monitoring the high intensity approaching those magnetometers over the next 5 years. That in turn is moving up towards the equatorial region. And we've got another problem here. You know, when these two come closer and closer to each other, you know, as most of you commonly understand, that, you know, opposite poles attract each other. And, you know, we're going to see probably in the next 5 years, you know, this planet go through some severe changes. You know, these, as you can see, the Australian high intensity magnetic region is lurching straight up towards the equatorial region of this planet, and in its path is the Siberian pole, which is coming further and further down, and as it does, brings an Arctic climate with it. So, you know, we've got some major events coming up, and I believe we're already starting to see these events take place. And, you know, if people just go about their normal lives and push all this to the side because their normal lives are more important at this specific time, then, you know, they're going to be just like these people we see that face these natural disasters, whether it be a hurricane, a tsunami, earthquake, destruction, or, you know, they live in the neighbouring vicinity of these volcanoes when they erupt. You know, they're going to be saying the same. We never thought it'd happen to us. You know, it's ironic, really, that, you know, we live in a point in time where not many people know exactly what is going on with the planet. Can you believe it? Not many people are even that interested in knowing either. And it's going to be to their own misfortune that they have not taken, you know, time out to investigate these matters, either themselves or actually, you know, tuning to people that are, you know, making the effort. Because what we're trying to say on this channel, and what other channels that are talking about these events are trying to say, is, guys, you know, you can't leave it to the last minute. If you do, you're going to find yourself in the shop with, you know, the only thing to purchase is, you know, the domestic bleach, or, you know, the things that you can't eat and you can't survive with. You know, what we're trying to say is, you know, it doesn't cost a lot to put up a little bit of provisions for your family, and, you know, a little bit of imagination as to what you might need, you know, to light a fire, to purify water. Those simple things, you know, it's got to be the cheapest insurance policy you can take out, probably only once, one-off payment, and you've got it, and it's there for life. And trust me, you won't mind if you never have to use that equipment or those things that you've put up for the rest of your life. But, you know, at the back of your mind, you have taken some, you know, provisions for yourselves and your loved ones. That's what it's all about. What else? Guys, you know, we really need regular support on this channel and the observatory, you know, to keep things going. As you can imagine now, there is more work than ever. And, you know, at a time where, you know, compared to last year, our funding's gone down. So what we really need to do is, you know, perk it up a little bit to keep things going here at the observatory. And I know it frustrates a few of you guys, but at the end of the day, we haven't got no corporate funding for this observatory. It's all funded by you guys out there. So, you know, it's great when some of you out there do, you know, realise what we do, and you know, chip in and, you know, help us out a little bit to keep things going. The other thing is that, you know, all these other organisations out there aren't giving the information out on the magnetic poles, and if they are, it's irrelevant, the information that they do give out. You know, on Swarm at the ESA, European Space Agency, they don't give out nothing above level 2, and that really is at the level where we want to start, you know, investigating, and that's why it's prompted us to put our magnetometers in these locations all around the world. So yeah, guys, you know, if you want to help out, you know, it'd be greatly appreciated. It's always the few that do, and I can't thank you enough for for the support that you give us so far. So if we can encourage a few more people to support what we do here, that would be great. And there's nothing really else to say other than later on in this week we're getting back into the cloud generator project, and I'll be showing you guys what we're up to with that, as well as the data comes in from these locations, relaying it to you, relaying it back up to the website. So guys, the link's down there if you want to support us, and nothing else to say other than what I usually do at this point. Take care, bye for now.